a more precise snapping, and then we can just drag it. Hello everyone! A lot of things have changed in Vizloom since the last quick start tutorial I recorded. A lot of new features have been added that are very important, so it's time to record another one. In case you're new here, I'm Carlo, I'm the developer behind Vizloom. Vizloom is a new kind of video editor built specifically for DJs and producers to prepare visuals for their music and or their performances. You bring the music and the visual art, and Vizloom is the glue that lets you put them together very precisely but also very quickly. And this is because it lets you customize and automate your workflow so that it fits specifically your vision, your music genre, your visual style. So in this video, we'll follow the quick start guide to go from zero to a music video ready to be uploaded online or ingested into Serato, Recordbox, whichever DJ app you use, or even VJ app. This guide is also available as a page on the Vizloom website, so I'll leave a link to that in the description in case you prefer to follow that way. And now let's jump right in. The first time you open Vizloom, it will show you the visuals library right off the bat, and it will explain you how it's important for you to use this place to curate your visuals the same way that you curate your music, because these visuals will be accessible from all the songs that you want to visualize, and they will determine the general vibe and visual identity of your performances. Fortunately, I provide you with some visuals through the starter kit. As you can see, these are folders containing videos. You can just select all of these folders and drag them in together and accept the default settings. It will take a few seconds to parse out some thumbnails and some information from these files. It will organize them in the same way as you imported them. It seems like it's ready to go, so let's move on to the next step by closing this dialog and importing some music. To get started quickly, you can use the music track that I included in the starter kit. Just like before, you can drag this one right in here on the home page, and you will see that it will start analyzing it, which means it extracts some metadata like the title, the art, but it also extracts the tempo of the song and some layers like the drums or the bass, the vocals. It might take a couple minutes, but don't you worry, because let's say that, for example, you imported a number of tracks. They will all analyze one after the other over time, but as soon as one of them is ready, you can start working on it, because the analysis of the other tracks will go on in the background and it shouldn't interfere with your work. Now, just like a cooking show, I will fast forward in time to when this is done and pick it up from there. And it's ready. Before I jump in, I'm going to stop the analysis of the other ones. I actually don't need all of these to analyze right now. There is a few controls here, but also on each individual track that you can use to kind of manage this analysis step as you need. Okay, from here we want to follow the steps in the UI. So the first one we should go through is the synchronize step. We can click on it and we'll see that we enter this editor where really all we want to do is just make sure Vizloom has gotten its own metronome or Beatgrid correctly synchronized with the beat of the song. So let's keep somewhere in the song and hit play. As you can see, we have a kick indicator, which sounds like it's following the kick very precisely, and a clap indicator. And the measure is also often important, just to make sure that it's aligned with things like changes of phrase, like this one. Usually you don't really have to do anything here though, it tends to be right from the start, but you should always check, because if this is wrong, then it's going to be very, very hard to fix it later. If you do find that something is out of sync, you can use these sliders to push the beat back and forth, or you can even change the BPM. But for this one, we'll use all the defaults. Cool, so we are ready to jump into the fun part, which is the create editor. Here we are going to be choosing a template. Vizloom comes with a few templates already prepackaged with it, but you can also create your own and save them using this button here. We're going to be using the layer visuals template for this tutorial, but of course, feel free to take the time to explore other options that you might find in this dropdown, since every template will be very, very different from the others, as it's all programmed from scratch through these nodes editors, which is way too much information to talk about in one video, let alone one sentence, especially given you don't really need to worry about these unless you want to really go deep and customize things extensively. And therefore, focus. Where were we? Right, we were selecting the layer visuals template, and so let's do that. When you apply a template, you'll see that the creative editor populates with all of these tracks. The charts that you see on the left are the animations that each track is either using or producing. And then here on the right, you have various controls for that track and its animations. In the case of a visual track, for example, you'll usually have some way to select your visuals and a few other options to customize their look. However, the first track we're going to be looking at today is the song structure track here at the top. This animation influences all the animations below it. This template tried to guess for us the structure of the song. And in this animation, you can see where it thinks that there is a breakdown. For example, here where the chart goes down, or an intro, versus faster paced sections where the drums are going and the bass line is in full swing, like for example here where the chart goes up. However, it seems like it picked up a lot of interruptions along the way, so we probably want to adjust the sensitivity slider here and see if we can bring it to a more steady flow. And it seems like 0.1 is perhaps the best value, otherwise it starts picking up some parts of the intro as if they're rhythmic sections. So let's leave it to 0.1. And as you can see, while I modified this animation, everything below follows suit. So all of these animations kind of know about each other, and this is what saves us a lot of editing time. The most important thing to check is that it got the drops right. Let's quickly go verify. You can click anywhere on the chart to jump to it, and then you could press play here, but I never actually do that. I just press spacebar to begin playback. And then I can use the arrow keys to quickly move ahead, go to the next drop, and perhaps pressing command as well to make smaller jumps, and then play again. Okay, it looks like both drops are correctly marked. There is still a couple of things that I would like to fix about this song structure. One is that I don't think this really is a breakdown. I think it's just a temporary lull in the rhythm. Yes, let's remove it. And I can easily do that by activating the keyframes widget here. And when you hover on one of the keyframes that are now highlighted in white, you can press Alt to turn your cursor into an eraser and click to remove them. I also like to remove the last keyframe just because with my mixing technique, I don't really want the tail of the song to visually change very drastically, as I'm usually mixing something in at that point. There is another adjustment I would like to make at the beginning of the song. This probably doesn't really sound like a breakdown to an algorithm, but it kind of sounds like a steep change of scenery to me, and so I still want to mark it as a breakdown, and it's this part here. See, I think I would like a breakdown kind of look to begin here and finish at the next drop. And then press enter to confirm. By the way, all these keyboard shortcuts that I've been using, you can find them either by hovering on the buttons that they're assigned to, but you can also activate the tip box here. It will show you a little bit more information at the bottom of the window as you hover on things. Okay, next let's assign some visuals. Let's begin with the kick. And the hi-hat. I can type in the box to find things more quickly. Let's assign bioluminescence to the clap. The clap is not really very evident though, is it? So let's perhaps make it white by reducing the saturation to the minimum and also a lot brighter. Perhaps more contrast to make it a little bit more defined. There you go. Now a breakdown is coming up, so let's pick something for the breakdown. And we also get other animations as part of this template. Of course, everything has a degree of customizability. Let's make this a little bit less steep. And let's assign it the shimmer. These other animations here can be useful to fill up the rhythmic section instead, so that it's not too flashy and there is some elements that remain fixed. Like it could be, for example, the starry sky. So I'm going to add the stars. And I will also add them to the breakdown actually, just because they look good. There is also another element that might be interesting to capture visually, and that's the riser. The animation down here already seems to have picked up on some options for us. I really just want to represent this one because these are kind of weak, but this one here is pretty nice. Because there is this snare. So let's just isolate it, which is pretty easy to do by following the graph. And then let's assign it a visual. It appeared a little bit further than I wanted it. So let's make it a little bit more precise. For something like this, we might want to zoom in to understand what's going on. Yeah, we want to cut this out. We need a more precise snapping, and then we can just drag it. Let's also add something fun for the base. Probably some abstract shape. And then what I like to do for the base is to modulate its color by adding another generic base animation to it. And then reducing the scale. And there we have it. I think this would be ready to go. Of course, there is plenty more detail that you could be dialing in, but it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, how quickly you're trying to visualize, how much music. It's really up to you. Something I do because I'm a little obsessive is I like to make sure that the clap and the hat are actually precisely coming up when they're supposed to. In this song, for example, the clap doesn't really start until here. And the hat has a similar problem where it really just starts here. And also, as you can see, the animation of the clap is a little bit weak towards the beginning, so I can decide to push it up a little bit. See, these are small things that really do look more striking when you take the time to dial them in, and also they offer consistency. But again, it depends how much detail you're going after. and perhaps how much time you want to spend on each track. Something that I'm not really going to dive into during this quick tutorial is how you can create your own animations and your own types of tracks and how to combine all of them together to make new things. Just know that you can play with all of these kind of like Legos and combine them however you like. And if you were to take a very quick example, the clap is made up by a structure that gates it and a percussion animation, which itself is referencing this high frequency drums audio track that is made using the demixer here by picking the drum stem and then filtering for the high frequencies only. You can even preview what that sounds like by clicking here. Cool. I think the song is ready to go. However, doing the full resolution render takes quite a while and it also takes a lot of resources. So while you could render this specific song right now just by clicking this button here, what I suggest you do is rather you queue it up so that you can keep working on other songs. And then every song that is completed, you just toggle it on and render everything together at once by hitting the render button up here. And this is because this way you're able to complete your work, and then when you don't really need your computer anymore, say you go to the gym, you go to sleep, you can just have all the songs exported at the same time without having to wait for it. All right, this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the process. Maybe you followed it on your computer, or maybe you haven't downloaded Vizloom yet, in which case you can head over to vizloom.com and get it there to try out for free. Make sure to follow the Discord channel. That's where you can share what you make, or you can ask questions if you get stuck on anything, even feature requests and things of that sort. And if you would like updates on new art, new tutorials, I post all of this stuff on Instagram, TikTok, and some other socials. I'll drop all the links in the description below so you can pick your favorite and follow us there, or follow us here. And if you do, I will see you on the next one. Stay artsy. Bye.